From gothic Prussian castles addressing themes of morality, to sweeping desert vistas exploring pregnancy and alien dimensions, the Amnesia series has never been shy to experiment, and this newest title from Frictional Games is no different. Amnesia the Bunker is one of, if not the scariest game I have ever played, and I absolutely love it. So let's talk about it. The game starts off with a horrifyingly realistic depiction of human violence in World War I. Its bleak and oppressive setting is expertly displayed through moody atmospheric lighting and haunting sound design. After surviving a direct attack from German forces, French soldier Henri Clement wakes up to find himself seemingly alone, with no memories, in the infirmary of an abandoned bunker he once took solace in. After learning he's trapped down here with an awful creature, the only means of escape being to blow open the shelter's collapsed exit, he sets out to explore the bunker and discover what's happened while he's been comatose. In typical Amnesia fashion, you're tasked with avoiding deadly creatures, using whatever tools at your disposal to do so, whilst trying to escape with your mind and life intact. In place of a handheld lantern, Henri carries with him a little wind-up dynamo flashlight that makes a ton of noise and needs to be recharged every 28 seconds, oddly specific, but yes, I counted. But here's where Frictional turned the established formula on his head and douse it with generator fuel. You have a gun! Not just a gun, but grenades, fire, gas, and more. But you'd be mistaken if you think this actually helps you much. This is not a first-person shooter, and the game is not generous with bullets. This is a game about careful improvisation, strategizing, and resource management, and this is doubly true on the harder difficulties, which don't show you any mercy. Your best friend throughout the whole game is the bunker's generator, located in the game's only safe room. It's basically a giant lantern that you have to refuel every now and then. The creature hunting you prefers to hunt under the cover of darkness, and while he can come out in the light if you make enough noise, it's better to keep the fuel burning to fend him off. You are constantly aware of how much time you have left before the lights go out, and your survival depends on gathering resources not just for defense, but for your vision. As you can imagine, this gameplay loop is extremely tight, overwhelmingly so, and leaves you always on the move lest you burn all your fuel away. You're free to explore the bunker's areas in any order you choose, but don't expect the game to tell you where to go or what to do. You really need to pay attention to the game world and make your own decisions quickly to stay alive. It's an incredibly thrilling experience, one where I had to hold my breath multiple times when hiding and evading the beast. Speaking of, there's only one creature hunting you this time around. There are other enemies, but I won't really spoil what they are. The sound design for the main creature hunting you is incredible, even by Frictional standards, and the music that drones on while he's actively searching for you stops my heart for a few seconds whenever he's near. Never before has it felt so good to be hunted. Listening to this guy scamper around behind the walls, stalking you from every direction, fills me with an inescapable dread, and he's easily the most intense enemy to stealth around in any Amnesia game so far. While Rebirth's ghoul enemy wasn't the most horrifying thing to hide from, far from it, this guy is a primal, relentless hunter, very much akin to Xenomorph from Alien, and he will not stop until you are dead. I'm gonna go on a quick tangent here. I considered talking about this in its own video, but I don't think my processor can render much more videos. There seems to be this misconception that Amnesia franchise is purely Dark Descent, and that belief has kind of tainted Amnesia's legacy, as Machine for Pigs and Rebirth have both proven that this franchise can be so much more than its predecessor. Granted, Machine for Pigs and Rebirth both have slightly different approaches to its horror, which aren't as well executed or intense as Dark Descent, but to see people calling Bunker a return to form seems like a gross exaggeration. They never lost their touch, even if their head did get stuck in the clouds a little bit with Rebirth. But that ambition and drive is what this industry needs more of. So it's a shame to see people writing off the other games just because it's not exactly what they wanted. I could talk more about this in another video if you want me to. But anyway, let's get back to it. Bunker has a lot of good things going for it, but one thing I didn't care much for was the story or the writing. The story itself lacks a lot of depth, and calling the twist predictable is an understatement. Disappointingly, there's not much connective tissue binding Bunker to previous games either, with one particular callback being very out of place and unearned. There are lots of notes to find around the Bunker, but they all feel like they've been written by the same person, with the same flowery prose and bog-standard trite creative writing tropes a university tutor would teach. Because of this, the notes don't really feel immersive to read, and come across as inorganic pseudo-tutorials. Amnesia games typically have a lot of reading, which is great, but given how many notes there actually are, and how small the game world is, you'll often be stuck reading for minutes at a time, with the voice journal entries lasting up to 5 minutes. This feels very unnatural, and you can really feel it hammer down the pacing. For the voice journals, the other game's solution for this was having multiple journals, but all of them being a lot shorter. This game just plonks it all into one, which is kind of annoying. There basically isn't a workaround for it in this context though. They could have added more notes, but there's already so many scattered about the place that it wouldn't really be a great remedy. It's just an unfortunate result of the game design. Performance-wise, it ran fine. Hitches during the level transitions, but it's an old engine, I didn't mind it much. PC purists have shunned it for being capped at 60 frames, but I've tried gaming on 144Hz above 60 in the past, and to me, it genuinely looks awful. Like, I don't know what it is, I'm the complete opposite of that crowd somehow. 1080p 60 frames is more than enough for me. I'm so happy to have just that. I'm sure in Frictional's next iteration of their in-house engine HPL, they will address the physics and the framerate cap, and then people can finally stop complaining about it, thank God. All up, my first playthrough of the Bunker ran me about 4 hours on hardest difficulty, and it was the most challenging and scariest experience I've ever had in a video game. I absolutely loved it. I don't know what it is about video games, I much prefer games where I'm powerless than when I'm powerful. I don't know what that says about me, but I love the feeling of being hunted and stealth. Powerful stealth I like, but I also really love the vulnerability in stealth. Something about that just speaks to me, and this game amplified that to such a degree that I loved. Since then I've played it twice more on easy mode, and I'm really excited for the upcoming custom mode. My favourite thing about the Amnesia series is that each game is incredibly different to the last, and there's pretty much something for everyone here. Dark Descent's focus was immersion, Machine for Pigs was story, Rebirth has its characters, and Bunker now has its gameplay. That's also why I don't think the franchise is being milked. Each game offers something new. As long as they keep trying new things and testing themselves, I'm happy to see whatever they add to this universe. Price-wise, I do think it's worth the price. It's a very short game, but it's so tight and concise that not a drop of it is wasted. And with the replayability there is and the upcoming custom mode, it's looking pretty good. If you're a fan of the Amnesia series, definitely get this one. In my opinion, it has the scariest moment-to-moment gameplay out of any Frictional game. So if you're a fan of Frictional in general, you should pick this up. And if you're just looking for a great horror time, then you're in the right bloody place. Holy hell. Anyway, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.